Right, you know Fahan's not coming. You know, if it's one past and nobody's here, you know that I'm back. And what a joy it is to be back. All right, just to let you know that Christine Burgener, the Special Envoy for the Secretary General for Myanmar, will brief the Security Council this afternoon, and she may go to the stakeout afterwards. We'll keep you posted. The UN mission in Afghanistan has condemned yesterday's suicide attack, which killed and injured scores of civilians outside of Kabul's airport. The attack took place among a crowd which had gathered to greet First Vice President Abdul Rashid Dostum shortly after his convoy had left the area. The Secretary General's Special Representative, Tadamichi Yamamoto, called it a senseless attack that served no purpose other than to spread terror and try to promote division. He added that at a time when Afghans are exploring ways towards a much-needed peace, we must not allow such attacks to deter our collective resolve to make progress on ending conflict. And in a statement issued over the weekend, the Secretary General said he was gravely concerned over the dangerous escalation of violence in Gaza and southern Israel and deeply regretted the loss of life. It is imperative that all sides urgently step back from the brink of another devastating conflict. And yesterday, the UN Humanitarian Coordinator for the Occupied Palestinian Territory, Jamie McGoldrick, warned that essential services are on the verge of shutting down in Gaza due to lack of UN-provided emergency fuel. He called on Israel to end restrictions and preventing the import of fuel. And on Syria, our humanitarian colleagues continue to remain deeply concerned for the safety and protection of people in southwest Syria. Weeks of escalating hostilities have reportedly led to scores of civilian deaths and injuries, mass displacement, and interrupted services. While overall numbers continue to fluctuate daily, an estimated 200,000 people reportedly remain displaced. The needs of both displaced people and returnees are severe, and the United Nations continues to lack the sustained access to affected populations, particularly those in Quneitra Governorate. And some internally displaced people in that governorate reportedly remain without shelter. About half of the population of the governorate was already displaced from surrounding areas, even before the recent offensives, many for more than a year. And the United Nations has also on Syria, the UN has received 422 Syrian citizens from southern Syria who are at risk and are seeking asylum and solutions in Jordan. This upon request of several member states and authorized by the government of Jordan. While in Jordan, UNHCR, in close collaboration with the involved government, is supporting the Syrian citizens' temporary stay in anticipation of their onward relocation in third countries. UNHCR appreciates the generosity of Jordanian government and the people for temporarily hosting them. And UNHCR also said today they strongly condemned the attack on its compound in South Sudan in northwest town of BUNJ, in which 2 UN staff members were injured. Earlier today, UNHCR was informed of a demonstration demanding employment opportunities for local community. The demonstrators forcefully entered UNHCR's compound and looted its offices and residence. 10 other humanitarian agencies' compounds, as well as the Office of the Commission for Refugee Affairs, were attacked and looted. UNHCR appeals to the authorities to ensure the safety and security of humanitarian workers. The agency continues to engage with local authorities and representatives of the host community to stabilize the situation. UN peacekeepers were immediately deployed to support humanitarian organizations and reestablish order. And I will stop there and take your questions, should there be any. James.
You have clearly seen the speech by President Rouhani and the tweet by President Trump. How concerned is the UN about the escalating war of words between these two countries?
Yes, we've seen it, and at this point we have no specific comment. Yes, sir.
Yes. Stéphane, on this Gaza situation, I know you just read the Secretary General's statement and the statement of the Secretary General representative, but has there been any movement in asking Israel, or Israel has agreed to open the crossings which are strangulating the Gaza people?
We are, obviously, our colleagues in in Jerusalem are in constant touch with the Israeli authorities, especially on humanitarian matters, and we have seen reports that Israel may reopen some of the commercial crossings tomorrow. We very much hope that happens.
At all, can you please tell us, if at all, when the subject raised by the United Nations with
the issue of the humanitarian situation in Gaza is an issue that is raised constantly by our colleagues in Jerusalem with the Israeli authorities, with the Palestinian authorities, and also with leaders in Gaza. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Stéphane. You must have seen reports that United States diplomats are in the process of seeking direct contacts with the Taliban. How does the United Nations view this shift in American policy after having failed to defeat the Taliban?
Look, I will leave the analysis to others. We always, as a matter of principle, are in support of issues of dialogue. Yeah.
Fine, thank you. So regarding the refugee status situation in the south of Syria, southwest of Syria, albeit Jordan prevented many refugees from entering, we have learned recently that so-called white helmets have been allowed to go into Israel and then to Jordan from that. Was the United Nations in any way involved in this process of evacuating the white helmet people?
We were not involved in this transfer. UNHCR has received them in Jordan, and as I say, they are very thankful to the generosity of the Jordanian people for hosting these 422 Syrian citizens that came in from Syria.
You are talking about 22, but the numbers...
422.
422.
Yeah.
And they are mainly Syrian. Why is this special treatment for Syrian citizens here? Is there any explanation?
I think there's been, if you look over the last 8 years, the generosity of Jordan, Lebanon, Turkey, and many other countries in hosting, bringing in Syrian civilians and providing them assistance as they seek refugee status or as they have refugee status. This is something that has been ongoing.
Yeah, but the question is why the white helmets are given special treatment.
I think you will see that there are a large population, millions of refugees, Syrian refugees who have sought shelter in other countries.
Well,
Philippe, I will come back to Philippe.
Still on Syria and refugees, there is some discussion between US and Russia to bring back in Syria some refugees. Does UN has any role in this?
Look, I'm not aware that we have involved in those direct talks. As a matter of principle, the return of people to their home should always be voluntary and done in dignity and in safety. It is up to people to. No one should be forced to return.
Yeah. Again, continue on the same subject. Russia and Syria both accused White Helmet of involvement in fabricating chemical attacks. And then they are treated, given special treatment in evacuation, like no other organization. How does the United Nations view such a thing?
What UNHCR has done, which is what they always do, is they have received civilians, in this particular case 422 from southern Syria, who are at risk and are seeking asylum solutions in Jordan. That's UNHCR's role, and that's what they're doing, as they have done for millions of Syrians.
Well, there's ample evidence that white helmets were fabricating videos, and this is...
I think what we are looking at are civilians who are at risk and who have sought shelter, and UNHCR is assisting them. Thank you. I will leave it to Mr. Varma, and it's delightful to be back.